A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Okay, we're continuing with Salat tonight. Now, last week I spoke a little bit about my concept of Salah, and I've been looking into it a little bit more. It's going to take a lot of time. Actually, what I spotted with the Salah is going to take a lot of time, so I'm going to carry on with that. And we'll come back to it at another time or something. But today I think what we're going to do is look at when you speak of Salah out of the realm of the namaz, the ritual Salah, there's certain things that come up. What about this? What about that? What about the Quran mentions this? The Quran mentions that. So I think that's more what we should go through today, so that we can clarify for people one. Because when we look at this, it's either a matter of trying to distinguish, to reconcile the ritual and the broader aspect of Salah from the Quran, or else if you take in if you want to look at Salah in terms of no ritual at all, then it becomes a matter of, okay, so you're not doing this ritual, what are you doing? You need to figure out from the Quran what you are doing. Now,
can we just, sorry Imran, before we go, let's move away from the two words, namaz and ritual.
Okay.
I'm reading one book where reference to that kind of salah, the ritual as to salah, is a salatul muwakkat. The salah according to specified times.
Okay.
Salatul muwakkat, like waqt.
Yeah, waqt.
Muwakkat. Right? So that sort of fits very nicely into our discussion.
Okay. Well, maybe we can go with that. We'll start with that actually, because that's one of the most pertinent issues. Salatul muwakkat.
Like what?
Yeah, muwakkat. Now, so no, that term isn't in the Quran.
It's an Arabic term, but not in the Quran.
So one of the things that come up is, what about the times of Salah? If you're looking at Salah as a broad aspect, and if you are saying, as I'm saying, I don't find the ritual, like I said. I find, what we're going to call the ritual one, Salatul Mutawakkat.
Muwakkat.
Salatul Muwakkat. Okay. Muwakkat. Salatul Muwakkat. I confused it. So, there are certain times in the Quran where Salah is mentioned. Okay. The other thing is that in the Quran you'll find also that Salah is finite in the sense that there's a start and there's an end to it. So Salah definitely has some connotation of an event of some kind happening. It's something that you go, you start it, you do it, and you finish it. So this lends support towards this 5 times a day, so many rakats and that kind of thing. In terms of that, I'm not going to expound much on the rakats and things. Maybe Aziz will be able to bring in from the Quran, the postures and things like that. But in terms of the time, let's start with the time. Now the verses that speak about the times of Salah, one of them is in...
You mentioned it today.
Who mentioned it?
Your team.
Okay.
Surah 2.
Okay, one of them is...
183.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فإذا قضيتم الصلاة فاذكروا الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبكم. Is it فَإِذَا أَتْمَى?
Yeah, أَتْمَى.
Okay, there's no fatha there. فَإِذَا أَتْمَى نَنْتُمْ فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. Okay. Now let me read. Muhammad Ali says, so when you have finished the Salah, remember Allah standing and sitting and reclining. But when you are secure, keep up Salah. Salah indeed has been enjoined on the believers at fixed times, or it is some people say for the believers the Salah is a timed book, or from Kitaban I guess again, a timed book. So this indicates there are certain fixed times for the Salah. And if we look at the Salah as being following Allah's laws and staying close to Allah's laws, it doesn't take this into account, that broad sense, because there are certain fixed times for the Salah, right? Then if we look at the Salah again, another one is Surah 17, Surah 17 verse 78. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا ومن الليل فتهجد به نافلة لك عسى أن يبعث ربك مقاما محمودا. I'm going to carry on to the next few verses also. وقل ربي أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. Okay. Now, let's go through it in English here with Muhammad Ali. Says, keep up the salah or establish the salah from the declining of the sun till the darkness of the night. And the recital of the Quran at dawn, surely the recital of the Quran at dawn is witnessed. And during part of the night keep awake by it beyond what is incumbent on you. Maybe your Lord will raise you to a position of great glory. And say, my Rabb, make me enter a truthful entering, and make me go forth a truthful going forth, and grant me from your presence and authority to help me. And say, the truth has come, and falsehood vanished. Surely falsehood is ever bound to vanish. Yeah. So, to start with, the first aspect is got to do with the timing of the salah, right? So you've got from Duluka Shams until Ghasaq al-Layl. Now he says the declining of the sun. There's different understandings of Duluk Shams. Okay, one understanding is that it's from the time the sun starts setting. So they look more at the time of Asr to Maghrib, going towards that side. The other one is from after it parts its zenith. People interpret it so from Dhuhr going until night time. And then one of the things, in fact, Pervez mentions this as well. Duluk, it's the rubbing. Duluk is rubbing of the sun. And one of the things Pervez mentions as well is that it's from the time the sun comes up, the whole day basically, until the night.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Aqim Salah from Duluk Shams, however you look at it, whether it be from the zenith till the night time or from the beginning till the night time, it's quite a long space of time. Okay. Wa Quran al-Fajr, and we can discuss that. You can mention your what you want. You can bring
because there the word is what's for recital.
Wa Quran al-Fajr.
You see, the Quran itself is recital.
Yeah.
Or Quran al-Fajr.
Yeah.
Quran in the morning.
Yeah. The word Quran itself means recitation.
Yeah. And that could be part of the salah because the recitation of the Quran is part of the salah, right? But the point here is that if you look at Duluk Shams being from the time sun rises till night, that's a very long time period. He's saying you must establish the salah right through that day. So that's something to consider. Now most people consider this, I think, and I'll read Muhammad Ali's notes here because I'm sure it's quite... From the declining of the sun to sunset is two prayers, Dhuhr and Asr. Or the early afternoon and late afternoon prayers, while from sunset till darkness are two others, Maghrib and Isha. Okay? And then Quran al-Fajr is the Fajr. A lot of people take the five salahs from this verse.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they're saying that the two are from, when it says Duluk Shams is from the declining of the sun, so it's a daytime one. Ghasaq al-Layl is your Maghrib and Isha, and Quran al-Fajr is your Fajr. So they get the five timings from there. Okay?
But there are other references also.
There are also other references which
we'll come to that.
Yeah, where it talks about the two ends of the day and things like that.
Surah 20 verse 130 says part of the day as well.
And part of the day.
21:30.
Surah 20 verse 130.
So pay patiently what they say and celebrate the praise of Allah before the rising of the sun,
yes,
and before its setting, and glorified during the hours of the night and parts of the day.
Yeah.
So
again there from here that
21.
no 21:30. Okay. Celebrate the praise of thy Rob before the rising of the sun, which would be Fajr, and before its setting, which would be it would be I think they take Dhuhr and Asr from there.
That's right, yeah.
And glorify him during the hours of the night and parts of the day. Okay. So again, even that verse is showing a very, very extensive period. And for me, there haven't been clear markings except the surah. Where's that reference? Do you know the reference for the two ends of the day? 11:114. وأقم الصلاة طرف النهار وزلفا من الليل إن الحسنات يذهبن السيئات ذلك ذكرى للذاكرين. And establish the salah at the two ends of the day and in the first hours of the night. Okay, I'm not sure what the other translations are on that first hours of the night. Surely good deeds take away evil deeds. The reminder is for the mindful. So keep up salah at the two ends of the day. Now again, those two ends of the day, people interpret it differently. There's interpretations that it's Fajr and Maghrib for some people. Some people view it as some people even view it as Fajr and Asr, I think. So the point is that there's a lot of difference of opinions on all these verses and what these times are marking, and they can all back it up with from the Arabic and from the grammar and from the context and things like that. These things are always backed up by different people to see how they interpret it. And it causes a bit of confusion, in my opinion.
It does.
It causes a bit of confusion. The way I see it is that it's a long period of time, and this is where the salah comes in, because people can't identify those times of salah from the Quran. People have difficulty identifying the five points in the day from the Quran. You know, some people do find it, some people find that there's only 3, some people find that there's only 2, I've seen 4, 6, this kind of thing. So the clarity from people who look only to the Quran find that they have trouble trying to figure out exactly how many salahs there are and when those salahs should be. And we have to have an answer to this, because we believe the Quran is clear. We believe the Quran is detailed in these things. That we can't say no, it can be 2, it can be 5, unless we can back it up from Quran that you can choose whatever you want. So we have to be clear about the times of Salah. Okay? Now, the way I see the times of Salah is that Salah is not something that is specified in terms of every day you go and read Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Okay? But rather that you set aside times depending on the evolution of your community when the Salah must be set up. And at different times of your development it will be different, depending how you've progressed, how far, how well developed your society is. And that's because I see Salah as a coming together for issues. Okay? Now these issues, first of all, you set up some certain times for where people can bring their issues. Kind of like, the king used to hold court. The king used to hold court where people could come and address him. Now it wouldn't be like, the sovereign that you come in to address. But the authority must set up these times according to the Quran for when they are accessible, so people can come and say what the problems are, what they need, etc. Okay? And the other thing that happens is the Salah is then set up on a few other occasions. Okay? And this is where you find the Salah being mentioned in the middle of verses that don't really seem to have anything to do with Salah. One example is where we find I mentioned it last week, Surah 5 verse 106, where when death approaches you, you must take witnesses. And he says, if there is a problem with the witnesses, then you must detain the witnesses ba'da salah, after salah. And it's understood traditionally to mean that you read whatever salah is coming up, and after you perform your salah, then you deal with this issue. I see it on the other hand that you call people to salah for this particular issue. To use the Quran to settle this issue. So the salah process itself is when these people come and they have their problem, there's a dispute with the witnesses about what the person who has passed away has said. They are reminded through the Quran all the verses, and it's discussed how you give testimony according to the Quran, that you must tell the truth even if it's against yourself or those who are close to you. That is what the salah is about, bringing the purity of the Quranic message to these people. After the salah, you detain them and you try and sort it out, because now they have been made aware and educated in terms of what their responsibility is as witnesses, and now they must come and tell the truth about what happened. Another event you find is in the times of war, and you're familiar with the verse where it says during the war, you can do it you can shorten the salah.
Oh yeah.
Number one is Surah 4 verse 101, 102.
Yeah.
You can shorten the salah, and the Rasul is told he can lead one group, and then they can exchange with another group, can come forward while the others are basically taking care of the defenses. And this doesn't mean for me that now it's time for Dhuhr, so now you go and make salah and one group makes and another group makes. What it means for me is you need to, because you find this among the verses, and that's why I said I'll come back to it. I'd like to, when I'm finished the research, to present it. It's among the verses where it's telling you, clarifying for you the right way, sorting out the truth from the falsehood about how you conduct yourself in war. Okay? It's not just strategy, but how you deal with prisoners of war, how you deal with all aspects of the war situation. And you must, so these briefings, they're actually briefings from the leader to his troops. And it's not all at one time because it has to take care of. There's another one where it takes place, just one more example I'll give is on the issue of talaq. You find in the middle of the talaq verses, the talaq is being discussed, and what happens is there's a verse in between about salah. I'm going to just go to it and read it to you. Okay, Surah 2 verse 238. Okay. Now, if you go all the way back to, if you go all the way back to, I'm not going to, you don't have to go back to it, I just want to show you where it starts. It basically starts at, I think, verse 222, where it speaks about menstruation, and then moves on to clarifying the matters, what is the truth and what is not the truth regarding the divorce procedure, and carries on through there till you come to verse 238, and you find it says, حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. So it's saying
middle salah.
That's right. It says guard the salah and the middle salah. Or Muhammad Ali translates it as the excellent salah. Some people translate it as the balanced salah. Now, what's happening here is that what it is saying here for me is that in this procedure, the divorce procedure, when you are dealing with an issue of divorce, this meeting itself that you are dealing with, it is salah. Okay, because salah is there to use the Quran to clarify the positions. Okay, so in this sense, whatever dispute there is, the salah part of this is to purify, to keep the message of Allah pure, to make sure that people understand what Allah says regarding this issue. And there are a few other issues as well that I'm busy studying, but I just brought these few now. So regarding talaq, because talaq is another one of those issues where, campus flare, there's all kind of things happening. People need to be educated on what the procedure is regarding talaq. And this is the salah mentioned here, because this verse here, Surah 2 verse 238, seems totally out of place. If you look at salah as being your 5 daily prayers, this salah, it's out of context. It's not something that seems like it belongs here. Okay, in that sense, for me, it just doesn't seem like it should be there. Now, there's a few other issues, and I'll try and bring them up once I'm done with the study. But I see the salah as being that a call for salah is either the established times where you have it open for people to present their problems and dealing with their problems from the Quran. That's the key. It must be from the Quran. And the others are circumstances that come up that require the salah, where you use the Quran to keep the purity of the message. Because one of the other things that happens with salah is the verses. A lot of times, just preceding the salah verses, you find it mentions Bani Israel and how they took the falsehood and introduced it with the truth and mixed it all up together. Okay? And it's continuously like that. And one of the purposes of salah is for purification. Okay? And I think salah is that mechanism Allah has put in place to ensure, especially when the people come into power, that they don't lose sight of what the truth is. That they have regular things happening, so that they continually turn into the Quran in every aspect of this life. That's why I said I agree almost 100% with what I understand Pervez's view to be, because his view is that it's about everything, and I agree. I accept it like that. But also, I think the salah part of it is specific things you do to deal with all the things in life.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. So are you saying then that the ideal situation would be in a community where you would meet regularly, you would choose certain times, like Fajr, everybody would get together and they would discuss what they're going to plan for the day, and that would be their salah. And then again, whatever, like you would establish those set times.
I think
how, if that's what you're saying, then still, again, I'm still asking the same question. How do you do that now? Because if we are not doing namaz, then what are we replacing that? Because it's so important in the Quran. It's such an important aspect of our lives. What are we replacing that namaz, that ritual? Yeah. What are we actually replacing? How are we replacing it with truth? And when are we doing that?
Yeah, now that's when it comes to, look, you've got the salah is generally, I think, especially in a Quranic community, is very much a community event.
That okay? I can see and understand.
But also, the Salatul Isha and the Salatul Fajr, when it's mentioned at one place, and I wasn't going to bring this up, so I don't have the reference. I was going to bring it up at a later point once I've done it. It mentions that this is addressed in the singular, they say, to the Nabi, that he must set up the Salatul Fajr and the Salatul Isha. So in that sense, it's when he's available to the people for whatever issues they have. We could set it up quite easily within your community. It can be set up, whether it's on a lot of Muslims or not, doesn't matter. It can be set up to say that the community leaders are available, or the people who want to help are available to those who need help in the mornings and in the evenings. It can be set up to do that. But again, this is a bit of an ongoing process. I'm just telling you what my understanding is from what I found now, and I'm going into it in a little more depth, and I was actually discussing the times and how the times do fit in, okay, in terms of a non-ritual based salah. So I think maybe, we can go on for now.
Okay, just because I was looking at Surah 138, verse 130.
Surah 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the following one, 239.
Yeah.
Where it speaks about and like praying standing or on horseback, in relation to 238.
Yeah. Well, this is with regards to any time you're in danger, right? I mean, if you think back to it, could apply now definitely, but you think back to that time, at the time of danger, you can't sit on your musalla or your place you've established for the salah in a time of danger.
To the actual
No. What it means is you need to deal with the situation on the move, because you can't stop. It's too dangerous to stop and sit and do it. It's actually been done on the move. That's what that's about. I think to start with today, we're just continuing with a short session on the Salah, as we decided. Mr. Sadruddin there asked us to expand on Kitab al-Mawquta. He wanted to know about that this week. We discussed it last week. So very quickly about Kitab al-Mawquta. It's in Surah 4.
Give us the reference. Try and give us the reference.
If you go to Surah 4 verse 100, 101, 102. Yeah, it's just after the Salah about the war, which is, the verse is actually the end of verse 103, Surah 4, verse 103. Yeah.
Okay.
Now.
Oh yeah, right. It's chapter 4, verse 103.
Okay. So, inna salata kanat alal mu'minina kitaban mawquta, and that is understood normally to be that the salah is for the believers at fixed times or a timed book, kitaban mawquta. Right?
What is the verse again?
Surah 4 verse 103.
103.
Yeah.
You ask us and you don't know the verse.
So, what you wanted to know about that exactly, I wasn't sure, but I looked into it a little. We discussed that it has to do with the time. Mawquta has to do with time. I looked a little more into it. Mawquta also has to do with a limit. With a limit. And it could be understood in terms of the salah being used for determining the limits from the book. This is an understanding I came across from someone, just so I thought I'll let you know. But generally it's understood to be a timed thing for the salah at regular times. So I'm not sure what it is exactly that was troubling you about it.
I was just trying to see if it's 5 or 3 or how many
salahs?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the timing of the salah.
If I may just add, when I was young, my father said there's a black line on the horizon. Is the black line mentioned? Black line and the white line.
That is it with fasting, yeah, it is mentioned.
It's mentioned, yeah, in relation to the fajr, to before you can eat until the white line becomes distinct from the black.
No, not the cotton. It says you can eat and drink until the white thread of day overpowers the dark thread of night. Right? So that would be around false dawn.
And that wouldn't be a salat.
No.
So, in terms of the times of Salah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion about it in the future regarding how many and that kind of thing. So, Aziz is doing some research on a book that he mentioned last week that has to do with the different types of Salah. Just to recap, he mentioned in that book, the 6 categories was Salah that Allah made on the Rasul, the Salah of the Mu'min for the Nabi, the Salah of the Nabi for the Mu'min, the Salah of all living things, the Salah of the Nabi and the Mu'min for Allah, and the Salah for the dead. Okay, and then the suggestion was also regarding the term Salatul Muwaqqat.
Muwaqqat, yeah.
Yeah, Muwaqqat.
Meaning the time of Salah. Later on again, because it's important that we get used to that.
That's meaning the time Salah. Just on that, what I wanted to say is that for me, Salatul Muwaqqat, a time Salah, doesn't necessarily relate to the ritual Salah. Okay, so Salatul Muwaqqat in the sense of what it means for me would be different from what I'm talking about when I talk about the ritual and that kind of thing. It actually has to do with Kitab al-Mawquta. That there are times set aside. You have to ensure that there are times set aside for Salah, which is quite clear in the Quran that there are times set aside for Salah. There are certain times. For me, no. If we're talking about the times, the fixed times of Salah, has to do with the development of the community. I think I did mention this. So that it's less initially, and it becomes more, established. Usually, beginning and end of day would probably be to see what's going to happen, what you need to do, and to recap. Or the Salah the Rasul was instructed to establish, where he is addressed in the singular, is that he is addressed there, yes, as any government would be, to establish, to make themselves accessible to the people at regular times, for the purpose of Salah, for the purpose of resolving what the issues that need to be resolved using the Quran. And the key to the Salah is using the Quran. So in terms of timing and how many Salahs, I think that maybe we'll discuss a little more when Aziz brings the concept of the Salatul Muwakkat and all that kind of things at a later stage, unless he wants to discuss it now.
No, I just want to make a comment. I think we must be very careful that we don't separate. We don't separate the wider concept of Salah, right, from the Salatul Muwakkat. There's no separation, right? It's one is the continuation of the other, right? It's not that this means one thing and this means something else, right? Yeah. It's just that how we put it together is important.
I'd like also an answer on the zenith. When the sun is right at the top.
Yeah, but we did discuss it last week.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Because we're not supposed to worship the way.
Oh, regarding Zawal, there's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
As the time of Zawal.
And the sun worshippers.
No, the fact that you can't do Salah at zenith, at sunrise and sunset is all nonsense.
Oh,
it's nonsense. No,
nothing like that.
And the other thing I want to make a point here regarding the Salah and any issue is that when we look for the namaz, we just can't find it. We just can't find it. No one has been able to bring the namaz to me from the Quran. And to find the namaz, we have to go outside the Quran. To find the format of the namaz, we have to go outside the Quran. This is problematic, because once we start doing that, if we can't rely on history, and we can't rely on mutawatir, in my opinion, of any kind through the ages, things coming down. This is a problem. So if we can extract whatever concept of the Salah is from the Quran, I don't have a problem. But if we need to go outside, then it becomes an issue, because and it always becomes like this with Salah, unfortunately, because as long as, this is my opinion, as long as we look at this namaz and we believe that the Salah is the namaz, we have to go and find outside the Quran how we do this namaz. We don't have a choice. There's no choice about it.
What is the purpose of the Salah?
The purpose,
according to the Quran.
Yeah, according to the Quran, for me, the purpose of the Salah, the way I understand it as I'm putting the verses together, is that it is there to ensure that the purity of the message is preserved.
The purity of the message is preserved by the Quran.
Yes, but that's what you use the. It's in order. It's not for that it's there. It's in order for you to make sure that you are conducting yourself in a manner that is in line with the Quran. So, for example, the verses about the talaq is a good illustration of it. Is you find the verses of the Salah right as the talaq procedure is explained. You find then that the procedure of widows are explained and things like that. Then the verse comes regarding the Salah. Okay? And immediately after the Salah verse, let me just read it so it's clear. So it starts with the talaq procedures. If we just limit it to talaq, even though it's a little more than that, it talks about menstruation, and then at 222 in Surah Baqarah, and then it moves on to the talaq procedure, and through the talaq procedure, and then it talks about, as you get to verse 234, it talks about those who leave wives behind, how long they must wait, regarding the widows. Then it talks about, the other things concerning the widows, and it talks about divorce and the widows. And then so in verse 238 and 239, it says, حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. So guard the salah, and the most excellent salah, if you want to call it, or some people call it the middle salah, and stand up truly obedient to Allah. And then it says, if you are in danger, then on foot, on the move, you can do the salah that needs to be taken care of. Immediately after that, it returns to the subject that it spent a long time explaining. Okay, verse 240 says, and those of you, I'll read from Muhammad Ali just for brevity, and those of you who die and leave wives behind should make a bequest in favor of their wives of maintenance for a year without turning them out, etc. Verse 241 says, and for the divorced women, provision in kindness, etc. And verse 242 rounds it off by saying, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Allah thus makes clear to you His ayah, that you may understand. Okay, and you find this quite consistently with salah in the Quran, that you go very far back from where salah is mentioned, and you find an entire theme, only to find the salah mentioning and then a return to the theme, and a mention either at the beginning or at the end of that the message was perverted and it must be purified, about purifying and keeping the message pure. So the salah always fit in with some particular aspect. Just like in regarding when you die and leave a will. Again, there ba'da salah, retain them after salah. The salah is not making namaz. The salah is the clarification to these people and witnesses of how they must deal with wills and how they must give their testimony, okay, when there's a dispute. And then after the salah, you detain them to find out what was the testimony that you took from the man who has died. A lot of times it's very event specific, including the war and those things. So in answer to what the salah is there to ensure that you constantly check in yourself to make sure that you're not moving away from the Quran on those specific issues where it needs. So those are special occasions when salah would be called up. So Salatul Jum'ah, when you are called on Yawmul Jum'ah, on the day of a gathering for salah or whatever, you call together for the specific purpose that you need to be called for. And then there's the timed ones in the day which are necessary to ensure that things are being run on the Quranic basis. And that's what it's there for, in my opinion, anyway.